Welcome back, everybody, to another video with Willie's Truck Life. Today I'm at the Avalon Mall, and there's a lot of local authors here at the mall today signing books. So I'm very interested in finding out who's here. So let's go and have a look around and see if we can talk to some people. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Helen Escott, and I am a local author. I am from St. John's, and I'm retired from the RCMP. I was a civilian member. I was their communications strategist. And when I retired, I decided I wanted to live my 14-year-old dream and be a crime writer. So that's what I did. I started writing as a child, and I always knew I was a writer, much in the same way a singer knows they're a singer. My latest book is called We Will Meet Again. It is a beautiful story of Newfoundland women. And it's 4 women in the Hines family. And they love each other, and they hate each other, and they can't be around each other, and they can't be apart. And they're always in each other's lives. And it's the story of how women pass down generational trauma through themselves and through their daughters. And until somebody finally says enough is enough and breaks the chain. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just write it down. Just start.
Just start it.
There's no crime in writing something down. Yeah.
If you could co-write a book with any author, alive or dead, who would it be?
Agatha Christie. I was raised on Agatha Christie. That's when I fell in love. When I read my first Agatha Christie book, and I was probably very young, maybe before a teenager, and I thought, oh my God, women can do this. Women can write these books. And then I only read Agatha Christie and then Nancy Drew, and I thought, oh my God, women must make the best detectives because they're fabulous. And they brought me a world that I would never have known hadn't I picked up an Agatha Christie book. You can find my books anywhere, Coles, Chapters, any local stores. You can get them online at Indigo or Amazon, wherever you buy your books. Just search up my name or search up the book titles. You can also go to my website, which is helencscott.com. All the books are listed there.
Now, Helen, I saw your recent video where you encouraged people to buy local books. And you mentioned that many bookstores, airports, and big retailers have limited space for local authors compared to the American books. Would you like to share more about that and why it's important to support local writers?
It's always important to support local writers because we're the ones capturing your culture and your history. And if we're not here to do that, then it gets written by someone who's never set foot on our island. So it's very important to support local arts in general. But I'm always surprised that I see big chains like Coles and Chapters selling my books, but and then smaller stores across the island do. But the bigger places, like Costco used to have a huge end piece for local books, and now it's a very small space, and the rest are American books. And places like St. John's International Airport does not sell local books. How many people are buying? Every time I'm in there and I see people buying books to go on vacation, I'm thinking, where's the Newfoundland books? What a great point of sale. So we all, government is preaching about buy local, but what I want to see with that, then give the libraries more money so the libraries can buy more books. I meet people who say, I've been on a wait list for 3 months for your books. So, give the libraries more money. Get out and promote local authors more so than, than just say it. It's, do something about it. Don't just say it. Buy local. Do it.
Yeah, buy local. Everybody needs to support local.
Yeah.
So I have one last question. I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today, Helen. So how do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
Very proud. Very proud. It's being an author, being a writer, it's not a job, it's who you are, it's in your soul. And when you find other people who feel the same way, it's a community that just, it's an exclusive community that it's so amazing to be part of. When you find your own people, it's very amazing and magic happens. And I have so much respect for every author here because, look, everybody says they could write a book, but only this few did.
Well, thank you. Oh, by the way, how many books have you written?
I have my 9th book will be published in July 18th.
And it's crime. I think we
It's
mentioned
the next Operation book, so it's a continuation of my Operation series, which has been optioned for TV by Mary Sexton at Reed
I've
Craft
seen
Productions.
your books around.
Perfect.
I've seen your books, and I love your books. And so, guys, go check out Helen C. Escott books at your local library, local Coles.
Library and schools.
Everywhere. Come to Newfoundland this summer as a tourist and buy some books. Shop local. Well, thank you, Helen.
My name is Ashley Matthews. I live in Newfoundland and Labrador, and my book is about my experiences having cancer. This is the first thing I ever wrote that made me feel like an author from a wider recognition perspective, but I think I've always known I had the ability to play with words, even from high school. I was in a creative writing class that was with a small number of people, and I really enjoyed capturing things that happen in the average person's day. I wrote the book because I was taking notes while doing treatment, and it was written at a time when I wasn't confident I was going to survive, so I wrote for my children. So the book was written for them originally, and I fully intended to take it to Staples and print a copy and collate it and just have it for them. So I wrote it for them, but then once it was finished and I had people who were experiencing the same things that I had gone through, I thought it could do a wider good.
Tell me your story. I got a lot of questions to ask you. You're a powerful individual woman here. It's like I'm just going to throw away the questions and tell me more about your journey.
Oh my gosh. So my kids were 4 and 7 when I was diagnosed. Sorry, I keep looking at you. My kids were 4 and 7 when I was diagnosed, and I wrote the initial version of my book because I didn't know that I was going to be here for them as they got older. I didn't know at that time that the cancer was going to be beaten back enough that I could believe I was going to survive. And the way that you explain cancer and treatments to a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old is very different from a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old and a 24-year-old and so on. So my book was written to be an accurate accounting of what I had gone through at that time for my adult children later, which was obviously really difficult to do. By the time it came to publishing it, it was clear that I was going to survive. So then I felt like it could do good for a larger audience. It was no longer a private accounting of something that I had done for my kids if I wasn't here. It became an accounting of what young people who are diagnosed with cancer go through and how we often feel like we're alone. And just in general, we're always really afraid to talk about cancer because everyone always says. So it became the most honest accounting I could come up with of what it is to go through cancer. And then it was published.
So how are you feeling today?
At this moment, I'm kind of nervous because there's a camera pointed at me.
But there's a good-looking guy looking at you, too.
It's true. Well, yeah, that's why I keep looking over here. I can't look at the camera when you're standing right there. I'm feeling okay. I had stage 3, grade 3 cancer, which means that I blew a kiss to metastatic cancer without actually having metastatic cancer. So all of the interventions that I went through were very successful in eradicating cancer, but they were very robust. I had a lot of really difficult treatments. I had a lot of really difficult surgeries, all of which carry echoes forever. So I'm doing okay, but I'm wearing compression socks right now because I have to stand up for 5 hours and I have chemotherapy-induced neuropathy in my toes. So there are lots of, little things that are less visible that I deal with. So from a cancer perspective, as far as I know, I don't have cancer on my body right now, but I will be dealing with the ramifications of the treatments and the surgeries for the rest of my life.
So Ashley, where can people buy your books?
Everywhere you get the best books. Coles and Chapters, you can get it directly from the Breakwater website also. There is an ebook version available on Amazon if you prefer the e-reader. Anywhere where you get great books, you will find my book.
Okay, well, thank you very much for chatting with me, Ashley. How do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
I'm still shocked that I am part of the local literary community. It's a wonderful group of people who have been nothing but welcoming to me in every capacity because I often don't know what I'm doing. Fantastic. It's a dream come true. It's unbelievable that I am part of this community, and I am honored every time I get to represent local authors for Newfoundland Labrador. And thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ashley. Appreciate it.
I'm Paul Conway, and I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland. I started writing when I was 68 years of age. I'm a bit of an accidental writer, actually, because my first book, Paddy Scott's War, I wrote after a visit to Beaumont Hamel. Myself and my wife went over there in 2018 to do the Caribou Trail, and we were there for about a week and a half. Go through the graveyards, the trenches, and all the battle sites. And after that, we went to England, and went to England to take a little break. And one night, I don't know, I wasn't thinking about it, but in a second now. I wasn't thinking about it, but I had 3 really vivid dreams. And the first dream I had, I was following a soldier on the battlefield. And I came out of that dream, which was like a nightmare. I came out of that. And the next dream I had, which I slid right into, I stood behind, which I think is the same soldier, in a small house, and his parents are talking to him. And I remember him saying to his parents, "I'm only a burden on you." And I came out of that dream and I went into another dream, which became the end of the book. When I got up out of bed. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I went downstairs. My wife was reading, as she's apt to do early in the morning, and I started to tell her the story, and it was a very emotional thing because it was like it was real to me. And she said I should write down the dreams, and I didn't really want to do it then, but when I came home, she persisted, as she will, and she said, write a few notes. And I started to write the notes, and I wrote the book in 6 months. And it's the first thing I've ever written in my life. It just flowed out like it was given to me. The best piece of advice? Well, you got to have feeling or experience about what you're writing. And it's something that comes internally from you. And some people will get it through their basic research, or some people get it from a life experience. But I think the really interesting things that we read will come from something within the author themselves, something very personal in a way. My books are available obviously on Amazon. They've been there for a long time, at Chapters, at Coles, and normally at the Down Home.
My name is Erin Snow, and I am from Happy Valley Goose Bay, Labrador. I have roots on the south coast of Labrador. My father's from Spotted Islands, Labrador. He was a fisherman on the south coast, and I recently moved to St. John's, Newfoundland. This is my first children's book, What Can You See from A to Z Under the Labrador Sea. I also took linguistics at Mon and Inuktitut, and I also am very interested in inclusion and inclusive languages. I did have some of the words throughout my book translated into Inuktitut words as well. I had it translated from an on the north coast of Labrador. So she used to work with NL schools. She's a wonderful person who translated some of the words. So when I moved to St. John's, I found I really missed home. I really missed Labrador, and I always wanted to write a children's book, but it kind of pushed me to get it to life. So here it is, What Can You See from A to Z Under the Labrador Sea? And the letters that I chose from A to Z is, it reflects on my own upbringing from spending about a decade of summers with my father in Spotted Islands. So A to Z Under the Labrador Sea is a reflection on memories that I have as a young girl growing up on an island on the south coast of Labrador. My book, What Can You See from A to Z Under the Labrador Sea, is available at the Avalon Mall here at Coles. It's available at the Coles in the Village. It's available Kenmount Chapters, and it's also available online, coming on Amazon soon. And keep an eye out for my second book that'll be also available at these locations. In Goose Bay, Happy Valley Goose Bay, it's available at the Grenville Variety Store. It's available at the Visitor Information Center. And you can also find it at your local libraries and also on my website. So I have a consulting business, Labrador Consulting Services, and you can just check it out at labradorconsultingservices.ca and just order directly online. Rebecca, Rebecca, 1B, Rebecca. So to Rebecca, Okay.
My name is Dr. Mike Wahl, and I'm a professor at Memorial University in the Faculty of Medicine. I also do a documentary series called Health Explored, a radio program on VOCM. So I'm kind of a lifelong student of learning about health and wellness, and I've recently started to explore health around the world. So if you look at my academic career, I've been writing for a long time, but this is my first foray into writing what I'm thinking, you know, like my own personal sort of journal of travel. This has been a really fun process to do this. I'm with Breakwater Books, and this is our first book, and we have a collection of stories I've written, as well as photography from the talented Braden King, who's the director of our show and the photographer of this book.
What was the first thing you ever wrote that made you feel like a writer?
It's funny. I think when I did creative writing in school when I was a kid, I always migrated towards science, came from a family of scientists. But I started doing creative writing when I was a little kid, like probably like grade 4, and that was kind of my first thing. I was a bit of a bookworm, and I always had a knack for it. And over my academic career, I kind of had to write journal articles in science, but this was something I was doing on my own. Went to Breakwater and said, look, I got a journal full of books and notes. Can I turn it into a book? And they said, yeah, and this is it.
Do you have a specific routine or a place where you like to write?
I do have a specific place I like to write. I have a shed in my backyard. I live in Logie Bay. It's a beautiful shed with a pile of dry birch on one side and a pile of dry spruce on the other. I put the wood fire on, I get comfortable, and especially on those cold winter nights, I reflect on all the amazing travels I've had, and that's where I do my writing.
And can you tell us about your latest book and what inspired it?
For sure. My latest book is called Health Explored, and this book is a collection of stories from different places I've traveled. When we're filming our documentary, sometimes we have to stay to a very literal story, trying to get a point across about a specific topic. But these are some of the lessons that I learned and I interpreted personally. There's stories from Okinawa here, from Bhutan, where they study happiness, Morocco, where time is valued more than anywhere else, Costa Rica, where there's a blue zone, people live exceptionally long lives. It's a collection of stories, and at the end of every chapter there's some self-help tips that you can apply in our life back home, so we can take these global stories and make them work for our health right here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
So where can people find your book?
Yeah. This book is available everywhere books are sold. Of course, in St. John's, you can go to Breakwater Books, but you can go to Coles. We're at Coles in the Avalon Mall right now. Any Indigo bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere books are sold across Canada, you can find it, whether that be in Newfoundland and Labrador or on the west coast of BC.
So thank you very much for chatting with me today. How do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
Yeah, so one of the things that's a huge vein throughout the entire book, especially when it comes to health, is the value of community. So being part of this collection of authors, a lot of the people I admire a lot and have read their work, it's a real privilege, and I'm really lucky to be here. So it's nice to share this collection of stories with our community, but also with the other people that have inspired me to sort of take this path as an author.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
My name is Gary Collins from Hare Bay, Manawatu Bay, and I've lived there most of my life, and that's where I intend to die, right there in Hare Bay. I'm a Bay person.
You're a Bayman.
I'm a Bayman.
Gary, what was the first thing you ever wrote and that made you feel like a writer?
Well, I've been writing almost all my life. I started reading Carnation Milk Cans, my mother's table, when I was a boy, and I used to write. I wrote for Newfoundland for 6 years under the name Nicholas C. And it was just small features like 1,500 words and stuff like that. So then my editor at the time was Ryan Cleary, and he wanted me to write a book. So I wrote my first book.
Oh, Ryan Cleary.
Ryan Cleary was my first editor. Yeah.
Oh.
So then I wrote the book Cabot Island. So when I saw the book in print, it was different from writing in a magazine. So then I had the book written.
Right.
And it did well. It went to bestseller in about 3 weeks, I think. So then I started writing for real, and I've written to date 17 books.
17 books?
17. There's 6 of them here today, but I've written my latest one, The Lucky 7, if you remember.
Yes.
July.
You wrote
Navigator,
that one.
but it's not written yet.
Oh, you're right.
The Elite Navigator, where the 7 men survived the burning of their ship. So that's going to be on the shelves pre-Mother's Day, The Lucky 7.
The Lucky 7.
The Lucky 7.
The
7
Lucky
men
7.
all survived the burning and sinking of their ship.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, Gary. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that's, I felt humbled to write it, actually. I interviewed the 7 men, and there's quite a story to tell.
So, if you could co-write a book with any author, Gary, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't want to be prejudiced, but
Well, I haven't wrote one yet. but
Thomas Hardy.
Who?
Thomas Hardy.
Oh, Tom Hardy. Well, I don't have any cookbook out yet, though.
Thomas Hardy would be my way back book. I love his style of writing. And
Yeah. Oh, Tom Hardy. I like Tom Hardy books.
I grew up when there was no Newfoundland books to read. Now that's not the case anymore. We
Right.
have terrific authors from Newfoundland now.
So, Gary, where can people find your books?
They can find my books here at Coles, in chapters, all from St. Anthony to Lone, as far as I know, on the highway, and on Amazon, of course.
Awesome.
Or you want to give me a call, I can arrange a book for you personally.
Yeah, so while everybody wants me to write a cookbook,
Well, why don't you?
because they're all 10 out of 10 recipes.
Yeah.
You gotta watch my YouTube channel, Gary, in order to see. Everybody
Yeah, I
wants Willie. Everybody wants the Cook the Willie Way cookbook.
I'll look it up.
I cooked it my way. See.
I'll look it up. That's the only way to do it. Right?
Yeah. Well, Gary, I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today. But I got a question for you. How do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
It's wonderful. And I'll be told the establishment. I've had a couple of compliments, people coming through, that they would like to see more of it. Because physically for Coles, when you're coming in the elevator, you're past Coles before you see the books. But right here, they're coming down here, the book's right at you.
Oh, look right at you.
It's beautiful. I've got nothing but good comments. Everyone said there should be more of it.
Right.
That it's more, because at a regular book signing, you don't get as many people as this but this is just great. And there's a lot of talent around. A lot of talent around. I'm surrounded by talent on both sides.
You're surrounded by talent.
Yeah. And beauty on this side, and this one not so much.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. You have a great day, my buddy.
Thank you, sir. No problem.
Well, hello there.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little about where you're from?
I'm Ida Linehan Young. I'm an author from St. Mary's Bay. I was born in St. Mary's Bay. I live in CBS, and I have a place in Placentia Bay in St. Bride's.
So what was the first thing you ever wrote that made you feel like a writer, Ida?
In 1980, I had a little piece put in the Newfoundland Herald, and it was about a cat and cutting the cat's whiskers. And it was published in the Herald, and I was like to see your name there in lights was really, really nice. So that's probably the first thing that I've ever written that was published.
Can you tell us about your latest book and what inspired it?
Well, the latest one is actually not here yet, but it's Tilly the Two-Tall Clover, and it's a children's book about bullying. But prior to that, I wrote A Secret Close to Home, which is set in the early 1900s in Newfoundland. I really like writing that genre, and this is loosely based on a true event.
The best piece of advice you ever received about writing?
Just write. Seriously, just write. You can write anywhere. You can write anything. You just got to sit down and write. You'll never get published what's not written.
So, Ida, have you ever had any writer's block? And if you did, how do you handle that?
I guess I did in a way. Sometimes it has to do with. Sometimes you undermine yourself, and to have something finished is sometimes scary, so you stop. So it's not really writer's block, it's more fear of success maybe. And other times if I'm writing something, I read to the end and I wait for something to come to me, and sometimes I just start something else and then go back to whatever I was writing. But this one here took me a couple of years to write. It's a genre fiction, and I actually finished it in Ireland. I went over to Ireland and I sat in with a donkey, and I finished writing that.
Let's talk about Ireland. You're wearing the colours today, Ida.
I am.
St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's Day. I'm I'm 100% Irish according to my DNA.
Well, there you go.
So there's people in Ireland not even 100% Irish.
I gotta ask you, is it St. Mary's Bay or St. Mary's?
St. Mary's Bay, North Harbour in St. Mary's Bay.
Well, that's where my family's from.
That same North
Riverhead.
Harbour? Oh, you're okay. I had cousins.
Well, my mother was from Cook's Pond.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah.
My aunt lived in St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that.
Okay.
So I got another question now. If you could co-write a book with any author, alive or dead, who would it be?
That's very interesting. Louis L'Amour. He was a Western writer. So
A Western, okay.
He wrote a lot of Westerns, and I used to read all his work. I loved it.
Yeah.
And my father read all his work, and I just loved. I think I was influenced to do this historical fiction.
So where can people find your books?
They're all at Coles or Chapters, online and at Amazon, and oft times I'll attend markets around and I'll have them for sale myself.
Well, Ida, thank you very much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And so, how do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
It's still kind of unbelievable. Like a lot of people, I've had people come today that have all my books, and it feels really nice to be, I guess, somebody that people recognize now. So that's kind of nice, and I try to help other authors where I can. So I enjoy it.
Yeah. And everybody got to shop local.
Yes, absolutely.
Shop local,
we have
guys.
lots of local talent. Lots
Yes,
of. You can
yes.
tell by all the people that are here today.
Yeah,
There's lots
yeah.
of local talent.
Right. So, how many books have you written so far? I don't know if I asked you that.
I
but
have 9 really, because this one.
And that one
This one is number 9. It's
That's
not.
going to be number 9.
It's supposed to be in the province, but it's not here yet. So
and
it's very close.
I see you got all kinds of stickers. What's the stickers?
The stickers are just something that I hand out to people if there's kids with them. Would you like a sticker?
I'd love to have a sticker. Look
There
at
you
that.
go.
Whoop.
Whoop.
Look at this. I got a sticker. I got a
There you
sticker. Oh, I love stickers. And look at that, guys. Read good books and ask hard questions. Well, thank you very much, Ida.
Thank you. Thanks
I
for
really
coming.
appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Thank you.
Well, hello there. What's your name?
My name is Christa Fitzpatrick.
And how long have you been writing books?
This is actually my first book. I've been writing my whole life, but this is my first published book.
Your first book.
My
So
very
what
first.
inspired you to write this book?
I have been writing short fiction and short poems for over 20 years. Several of the poems and short stories in this book have won awards from competitions all over the province. Most recently, the Gregory Pratt Poetry Award. So after a bunch of them, I had enough and they'd won enough awards, I sort of put them together and gave them to a local publisher, and I was like, is this something you would be interested in? And they were, so I was like, oh, okay.
So
Awesome.
can you tell us about your book?
Yeah, sure. So most of the short stories and poems are pretty much just about what it's like growing up female as a woman. Like from the first one starts with how it is growing up in a small town, St. John's, as like a teenage sort of girl, and then journeys through that to becoming a mom. I have 2 kids, so there's a reflection on all those big changes that happen when you become a mother and you suddenly don't really recognize a lot of things about yourself anymore, from your mind to your body to your hair, and all those sort of weird feelings we get, and losses. There's a poem in here about the sort of after party from my grandfather's funeral, which I don't know what else to call it when you get together afterwards, other than the after party, when everyone sort of gathers together.
Yeah, everybody has a party. And
Yeah, and talks about how much you miss
Yeah.
the person, and so yeah, it's just sort of like a little progression through the life of a girl to woman to almost 40-year-old mother in Newfoundland. One of my favorite pieces of writing advice that I'd ever received is actually a Charles Bukowski quote, and it's just like, if you're a writer, then just write. You don't have to have a publisher, you don't have to have any rhyme or reason to it. If you feel like you have a story, no matter how short or long, that you would like to write down, just do it. Maybe it'll just be something you have, or maybe you'll luck out and
Yeah.
someone will want to publish it.
Where can people find your book?
So I'm in with Engine Books, so we're often at the farmers market. It's online on Amazon and on the Engine website, and starting now in a few days, it'll be here at Coles in the Avalon Mall as well.
Oh, well, congratulations on your first book.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for talking to me.
Thank you for talking to me.
My name is Bob Wakeham. I was born in Gander about 75 years ago, and educated in Newfoundland and in the States. Came back to Newfoundland in 1972 with a degree in journalism and started off at the Telegram for 8 years, CBC Radio for about 5 years as an interviewer and commentator. And then I was executive producer at CBC Television of Here and Now and documentary programs like Soundings and Land and Sea and On Camera, and I retired about 20 years ago, prematurely because of illness. And when I retired, I started to write a column for the Telegram. I've been writing that column now. I've written about 700 columns, and this is a collection of 130 of those 700. No, it's very eclectic, I like to think anyway. The material comes from my own career as a journalist and also my own private life, personal life, which has never been dull, and that's about it.
So this is the only book that you have out right now, or have you had any
I've had other books. I've co-edited with Francis Ennis a book on...
So what was the first one you wrote?
First one I wrote was For the Moment, and that was about my survival from colon cancer, which almost killed me. And then I edited with Francis Ennis a book on Beaumont Hamel called I Remain Your Loving Son. So this is the third.
So what's the best piece of advice you ever received about writing?
About writing?
Yeah.
You know something? Just to make sure your writing is not dull. No matter what you cover,
go with the
no
flow.
matter what you write, just make sure it's colorful. And I try to do that with the columns.
So if you could co-write a book with any author, alive or dead, who would it be? And don't say Michael Connell's next to you either.
I wouldn't mind writing a book with Mike, but probably Ray Guy. Ray Guy was a good friend. Ray Guy was the most brilliant writer I've ever known, ever read. There's Ray Guy, and then there's people like me and Mike.
Where can people find your book?
Where would they find? They can get it on Amazon. They can buy it here. They can get it at Coles back here. Down home. That's about it, I think.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
But I got one more question. How do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
Oh, that's... Believe me, it's... I don't think of myself that way. I hope that doesn't sound like false modesty. I'm a journalist. First and foremost, I'm a journalist, period. And
but you do have a book.
I do.
So you are an author.
Yeah, I'm a journalist who wrote a book, who wrote several books. But I'm a journalist.
Well, thank you very much, Bob.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little about where you're from?
My name is Michael Connors, and I was born in St. John's, lived most of my life in St. John's, though I lived in Ottawa for a number of years as well, and that's where I studied journalism, and I'm a lifelong journalist. I kind of actually cut my teeth at the student newspaper at Memorial University, where I worked with my old friend Dave Cochran, who's now on CBC National. And then after that, I got my first job at the Telegram. I was a reporter there and a desk editor for about 2.5, 3 years. And then I jumped over to NTV in 2003, where I spent 17 years as their political reporter, and then most recently, I've been the anchor of their the NTV Evening News Hour, their main newscast for the last 3 years now.
So, what was the first thing you ever wrote, and that made you feel like a writer, Michael?
I think, actually, I guess my first, when I was in high school, I did like a cooperative education program, and I actually had an internship with the Newfoundland Herald, and so I got to write a few pieces with them. That was kind of the first time I ever got to actually feel like what it was like to work in media, and so I wrote a few pieces with them. I think I did a trying to remember what I did now. I did like a profile of Pete Soucy once, and some local entertainment people, and yeah, that was kind of the first time I suppose I felt like I'd written something for public consumption. Yeah.
So can you tell us about a little bit about your book here that's on the table?
So this book, it's called Admit Strangers. It's a history of the press gallery at the Newfoundland Labrador House of Assembly. The press gallery is the place, the balcony where the reporters sit to cover what the politicians are doing in the legislature. Bob Wakeham here was a journalist who worked in the press gallery for many years in the book as well. And it's just kind of a history of how like the media collectively, even though you have all these media outlets that compete with each other, at the same time they had to kind of organize themselves collectively to kind of manage the space that they have in the House of Assembly, that they kind of keep under control themselves so that they can hold the politicians to account, have access to the legislature, and it's the history of how that all came together and how that worked.
So where can people find your book?
It's at Coles here in the Avalon Mall and at the Village. You can buy it on Amazon. It's also at the Down Home store, and I think that's basically where it's available.
Well, thanks, Michael, for chatting with me.
Oh, yes, After Books is the publisher. Very important.
After Books.
Yes.
So thanks very much for chatting with me. And how do you feel about being part of the local literary community here in St. John's?
I'll kind of give the same answer as Bob on this one. I'm a journalist who just happened to write a book. I never expected to. This one, because I was working at the press gallery in the House of Assembly, and I became the president back in 2016. A lot of the information that went into this kind of fell into my lap, and I thought, there's the building blocks of a book here, so I thought I'd give it a try, and here it is. But it's, for me, it was kind of like preserving a piece of history that maybe a lot of people wouldn't know about.
Well, thank you very much. You have a great day, Mike.
You too.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone I spoke with today. It's been amazing meeting so many inspiring people. And I truly appreciate you all for taking the time to chat with me. Now, just in case I don't make it back to Coles next weekend, I want to mention that there will be another author book signing at the Avalon Mall next week on Saturday. And for those who didn't make it in today's video, don't worry, I'll be making a part 2. And to everyone watching, thank you for subscribing, for the thumbs up, and for all your wonderful comments. Your support means everything. Life is good. Walked into my life and I am glad you came. Glad you came.